welcome to the post-race podcast for the Belgium Grand Prix.
Yes.
What a race.
Just watched it.
Good race.
It was a very good race, actually. Obviously, nothing major happened, but the race as a whole was good because it was close running between the top 8 for pretty much the whole race, wasn't it?
Yeah, I want to even say it was the best race we've had all season.
It's up there. Definitely up there. I think Britain was a great race.
Britain was a great race.
Austria was good. We've had a few good races this season.
In terms of how close it was, and I feel like in Britain we were relying on the rain. Austria relied on the drama between Max.
We relied on the rain of Britain.
No, but what I'm saying is the rain added that element of excitement.
Is nothing added to it in elements or anything? Yeah.
So in terms of pure, dry, flat-out racing, this is the closest they've been all season.
Yeah, and that bodes well for the second half of the season.
Absolutely. Max Verstappen hasn't won a race in 4 races now.
Yes.
Which is... Well, I mean, you know, we're not just saying yes because obviously we're not Max Verstappen loyalists, but at the same time, when Max does win, it's going to be a well-fought win, which is, we don't mind if Max wins, but it's when he wins by about 20 seconds that we're not a fan of.
Yeah, I do mind when Max wins. I'd rather him not win, but I'd also, if he is going to win, I'd rather it be within 5 seconds.
Yeah, exactly, and we'd like to see... I mean, if he wins now, it's going to be hard fought because the Red Bull does not look quick, does it? I
don't think it does not look quick. I think it doesn't look ahead anymore. It looks on pace with McLaren, Mercedes, and even Ferrari today. Yeah, Ferrari today did a good job. All of them now are close, which is great to see.
It is great to see. So that's pretty much the only talking point we really have. Let's move straight to the driver ratings, shall we?
Straight in.
Let's do straight driver ratings. So the way this works, if you haven't seen the podcast before, essentially we do the driver ratings from 1 being the worst, 0 if it's an absolute stinker, and 5 being the best possible grade you can get.
I just want to say, before we start,
yes,
I'm loving your seating position with your legs crossed.
Hey, Brev, they can't see it, man.
I'm loving it.
Bro, this is my formal position. They can't even see what I'm doing.
No.
Either way.
Well, lucky them.
So we go in running order from. I am wearing boxers, by the way. We go in running order from. Am I? We go in running order for the Grand Prix. So 20th, Zhou Guanyu DNF'd very early in the race.
He did, but it was a poor quali as well.
It was an awful quali.
It was an awful quali. I think his race was. It's hard. I'm just going to give him a 2.
I give him a 1. No, I give him a 1 because he did that thing again. You know what he did in, was it Spain or was it Monaco? One of them. He did that thing where somehow he managed to be 5/10 behind 19th in qualifying.
It was Canada, wasn't it?
Was it Canada? Canada. How has he managed to... rain... They call rain in F1 the great equaliser, don't they?
Yeah.
Usually rain brings the pack closer together.
Either closer together or it weeds out the shit ones.
Well, that's apparently what it did.
Yeah.
So, Zhou Guanyu, sorry, Zhou, but 5/10 is not good. So I can only judge you off your qualifying. And by that pace, I don't think your race was going to be much better.
Yeah, I mean, qualifying, it was a 1. I don't know. I don't know what to give him for the race. That's the thing. It's hard to say what he would or wouldn't have done.
That's fair,
in the race. For all we know, he could have had a 4 race and been up there ahead of Bottas. For all we know.
Yeah, he could have, but I'm not going off if, buts, and maybes. I'm just gonna, it's not like where.
I'm just gonna give him a 2.
I'm gonna give him a 1. I just think the qualifying was that horrendous.
That's fair. That's fair.
Logan Sargent, 19th.
2.
It's another 2 from me.
It's just a 2. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything right.
Well, I wouldn't call 19 doing anything.
Well, no, that's why it's a 2. I mean, if he was 16th, 17th, probably a 3.
Well, that's the thing. He needs to be close to 12. We've been saying this all season.
Yeah.
He's had a good couple of weekends, though, the last few weekends.
He has. But this one wasn't one of his best. Back to Logan.
Back to Logan things. He did pull a sublime defense on.
He did, to be fair.
On who was it? Yuki Tsunoda
Yep.
earlier in the race, which was nice to see. So there's at least proving Logan
Getting his elbows out.
Yeah, he can get his elbows out, can't he? Let's move on to Nico Hulkenberg in 18th.
Hulkenberg.
Now,
obviously dropped out. Both Hasses dropped out in Q1.
Yes.
Hulkenberg, I gave him a 2.
I gave him a 2. I assume you gave him a 2 the same reason I did, which is that
K-Mag beat him.
The Haas were just nowhere anyway, but K-Mag beat him, so it's a 2.
Yeah, that means I gave Kevin a 3.
I gave Kevin a 3 as well, so well, we've done Kevin there as well.
We've done Kevin there, we've lumped them into.
We've lumped them into one, yeah. Yuki Tsunoda. Obviously,
it's difficult with Yuki.
It's difficult with Yuki because obviously he fumbled qualifying almost on purpose.
I don't think it was a fumble of qualifying, then, was it?
No, it's not a fumble.
Because he knew he had the penalty.
Even if he qualified on pole, he was starting from last.
Yeah.
So you can't judge him for having a bad qualifying because, I mean, RB didn't look quick anyway this weekend.
Yeah,
but
no, they didn't.
But Yuki didn't get out of Q1, understandably, and then obviously.
To be fair though, I think with the RB pace that it had, obviously Daniel started further up the order.
Yeah.
Which allowed him to finish further up the order.
Yeah.
I think it's just a 3 from Yuki.
Yeah, I've given him a 3 as well. He had the grid penalty, and to be fair, starting from last and to end up 17th it's not impressive, but it's it's decent job. I know you wouldn't usually say that, but the RB was nowhere this weekend.
No.
At least in comparison to the Alpines and the Astons. So, we'll talk more about Ricciardo as well. I think Ricciardo's done a great job, but Yuki, there wasn't much more he could do really.
No,
so.
God no.
Valtteri Bottas.
Interesting, Valtteri. Another great qualifying in that stake.
He was running quite well as well, wasn't he, in the race?
He was running well, obviously out of place with his pit stops and everything.
Yeah.
Which obviously seen him finish down in 16th.
Yeah.
For that stake, you see, when you see it, for anyone else, I think that's a 3.
Yes.
But that stake's that bad.
Could it be a 4?
Bottas a 4.
I was tempted, you know what?
I'm really tempted to give him a 4 because that stake is awful.
I had the exact same thought process as you.
I've given him a 3, but I want to now change it to a 4.
See, this thing, the only reason we give him a 3 is because it is nowhere, but we know the stake is nowhere as well.
Yeah, and the fact that he's battling with these lot, and at one point running in 10th.
You know what, fuck it, I'm giving it a 4.
Yeah, fuck it.
Fuck it. I'm giving it a 4 because...
I'm changing it as well.
Because, yeah, I mean...
That stake's a tractor.
It should be a 5 for his qualifying anyway. He almost made it into Q3. What was he? Under a 10th from Q3. That was great qualifying from Bottas.
Phenomenal qualifying.
So, it's a 5 qualifying. The race, I mean, you're in a Sauber. You can't do much more. Can you?
No.
So,
no. That car's awful.
Yeah, so Kevin Magnussen, we said 3. 14th, Pierre Gasly.
I've given him a 2.
I'm a bit disappointed with Gasly this weekend.
I've given him a 2.
I have as well.
I am disappointed. Obviously, it looked amazing in Q1.
Yeah.
What he was doing, and then it just went downhill.
I mean, a track where Alpine clearly had pace as well. They had pace this weekend.
I mean, the gaps, timing-wise, obviously wasn't far off 10th, but there is 3 cars in between 10th and him.
Well, then again, Albon was close to 10th.
Yeah.
We mentioned Bottas was close to 10th. Perez almost went out.
Yeah.
So, you've got to find that little extra bit, and it's only a 10th. You've got to find it.
Yeah, and Gasly.
Yeah.
Is a 2.
Yeah, he's a 2. Alex Albon. I've given him a 3.
I've given him a 3.
It's
obviously
a high 3
qualifying P11.
Yeah.
Dropping down the order a bit. I mean, could he have held position a bit better? At one point he was running well and ahead of Ricciardo.
He was.
But it's a 3. It's a solid.
It's a very high 3.
Where you expect Albon to be.
I almost gave him a 4.
I don't think it's quite a 4.
Based on the same logic of what we gave Bottas, but that Williams is much quicker.
Yeah,
and
that Williams was of the pace of around the RB and the Haas.
Yeah, and that's where Albon usually is anyway.
Yeah, so it's a 3. It's his bog standard.
Yeah.
And
Lance Stroll.
15 point bloody 2. too. But again, he didn't pick up the point. But then the Aston Martin wasn't fast enough to be clear for that point.
I gave Stroll a 3 because I think he's quite unlucky. He was on a strategy where his tyres were older by the end, so Ricciardo and Ocon obviously came through, but he was running in 10th for a very long time, and he just couldn't hold on to it.
I mean, I would also agree with a 3. I'm not being harsh, giving him a 2 though, because he did qualify 15th.
Yeah,
he was last in Q2 and his teammate was comfortable in Q3.
Yes. I mean, at the end of the day, race is where it matters. It's not a Bottas situation where you can only really judge him on the quali and show. But
you do have to judge a bit on the quali.
You do.
You got to think, if he qualifies P11...
Yeah. I think he's nowhere near a 4, but a 2 isn't harsh. A 2 isn't harsh because it's qualifying. If he qualifies P11, even P12, he puts himself within a better shot of that point.
And maybe even a better strategy at that point as well.
Yeah, but he ran. I did think Stroll ran a very good race. A very underrated race, I think. He was running in the points for a very long time.
Again, down to pit stops.
Yeah, but either way, it's a 3 from me. Let's talk about Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo. I've given Daniel Ricciardo a 3. A very high 3.
I think it's a 3 because he's P11. It would be a 4 if he got P10.
It's a 4 if it's P10, and if it's 9, if it's P9, it's a 5.
Yeah.
Simple as that. It's a grade separating those 3 positions for Danny Rick, for me this weekend. He ran a very good race. He qualified probably. He gave that everything in qualifying.
Yeah.
There was not much more he could extract out of that RB, and he almost scored a point. So very well done to Daniel Ricciardo. It is a 3 though.
Yeah, it is a 3. I agree.
Let's move on to Esteban Ocon. Yeah. I've given him a 4.
I gave him a 4.
Very good weekend from Ocon again.
Grabbing that point, decent quali, out-qualifying his teammate, out-racing his teammate.
Yeah.
High 4.
High 4, yeah, very high 4.
Very high 4. I don't think it's quite a 5.
If he beats Alonso, it's a 5.
Yeah, no one was anywhere near Alonso, which we'll go on to Alonso, and it is a 5 for Alonso for me.
You've gave Alonso a 5?
I did give Alonso a 5.
I give him a 4.
What? So you say you give him a 4.
Yeah.
What more could Alonso have done? He qualified 9th, which was the best of the rest.
Yeah.
Comfortably.
Yeah.
He was miles clear in no man's land of everyone.
Yeah.
Never under any threat.
Yeah.
What more could he have done in that Aston Martin to extract it a little bit more? Nothing.
No, you are right. You are right.
Absolutely. Like, what does Alonso need to do nowadays to even get a 5? Because that top 8's untouchable. It is untouchable.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So what more could have Alonso done this weekend to get a 5?
You make a very good point, and I might change it, but just the counter argument. Going back to this is almost the Max Verstappen effect, isn't it? You know how we talk about Max, where, I mean, we always have this debate, don't we? It's like, oh, I can't give Max a 5 because this wasn't perfect, and it's like, what more can Max do in certain races to constitute getting a 5?
Yeah.
Based on his performance. Alonso's almost the same, where it's like, if the top 8 are clear, which they were, who do you expect to be 9th? Every single time, Fernando Alonso's the first name on the sheet.
Yeah.
So is it a 5 for beating everyone where you expect him to be, or is it a 4 for, yes, he did very well and he beat everyone, but also there is elements of it. You expect it to be Alonso.
Yeah, you expect it to be, but the question is, how does he now get a 5 without one of them going out?
That's why your point makes sense as well.
So
this is the argument. There's no winner really.
The problem is, by that point of a 4,
yeah,
if the top 8 are finishing and none of them are going out or having any problems, it's now impossible for Alonso to get a 5.
Yeah.
You can't grade it. We can't grade it off that. Alonso is a 5.
I'll give Alonso a 5. I think your argument does edge mine ever so slightly, based on the fact that you make a good point that if the top 8 stay in, there's not much more Fernando can do.
No.
But then again, it's also like,
that's where you expect him to be.
Yeah. So it's like, it's the Max Verstappen effect. You can't, if Max doesn't qualify on pole but he still wins the race, you go, oh, it's a 4 because he didn't get on pole, but it's like, he still won the freaking race, man. Like, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's the Max Verstappen effect. Well, this definitely won't be a 5. Sergio Perez, 8th.
I've given him a 3.
That's very generous.
It is generous, but he did get it on the front row.
No, I'm giving it a 2. Because...
It's a low 3. I'm not saying it's a solid 3.
It's a 4 qualifying from Perez. If he beats Charles, it's a 5 qualifying.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly where you need Perez to be.
Yeah.
However, he's absolutely fumbled the race. It's not a low 2, it's a high 2 because he still managed to secure points.
I've gone for a low 3. But my thing is, though, I've said this for time now. Of the top 8 drivers, Perez is the worst.
He probably is the weakest, yeah, at this point in time.
I think he's the worst overall. Full stop. Not at this point in time. I think he is. If you go through all the drivers, you put Perez in 8th.
Yes, but to counter that point, I brought this up in Saudi at the start of the season, is that it's all well and good saying that Perez isn't the best out of them 8 drivers. In fact, he's the worst.
Yeah.
But that he's in a Red Bull fighting for the World Constructors Championship. The expectations are different. I know,
the expectations are different. But as we know, that Red Bull clearly this weekend, by Max not coming through as we expected he would be, clearly that Red Bull doesn't have the pace for us to be like, see, if that Red Bull was last year and he's gone from front row of the grid to fucking 8th, that's like automatic 1.
Well, that's a 0.
That's shocking.
Yeah.
Whereas the pace of this Red Bull, you could say qualifying it was probably the fastest.
Yes.
Whereas in the race pace, I think it was quite equal between the McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull.
Yeah.
So looking at that, I think the mediums in the middle stint did affect him as well.
They
massively. Did. A high 2, low 3. I think that's where we are. I've gone for the more lenient side of a low 3.
Yeah.
You've gone for the more harsh side of a high 2.
Yes.
I think we're in the same ballpark.
We are in the same ballpark. I just can't give him a 3 when... If you qualify on the front row, I don't expect him to beat Max.
No.
But I don't expect him to be the last out of the top 8.
I wouldn't have expected him to drop behind Carlos, let's say.
Yeah, at least beat Sainz.
That's what.
Then it's a 3.
That's what I would have expected.
Yeah, I'd give him a 3 if he beats Sainz, but he hasn't beat Sainz.
No.
Who, by the way, hasn't had a very good weekend either. Let's move on to Carlos Sainz. It's 2 for Carlos as well for me.
You give him a 2?
Yeah, because he's been outclassed by Charles. He's been absolutely... Charles has got de facto pole and has got 4th in a Ferrari that clearly does not have the pace compared to Mercedes and McLaren. And even Red Bull for that matter.
The Ferrari are a little bit off the pace.
Yeah.
Compared to them 3. Only a little bit. It's not miles off the pace.
No, it's not miles, no.
I've given Carlos a 3.
So you're on the more... It's a high 2, so you're low 3.
I'm a low 3.
So same sort of situation.
Yeah, he did beat Perez as well.
Yeah, he beat Perez, but I mean, as we've just discussed, that's not hard.
He was on a different strategy.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He was on a different strategy. He did lead the race.
He did.
And he was showing decent pace while leading the race as well. So I am giving him a lower 3.
For me,
I would have liked to see more because Charles completely outdid him the whole weekend, which is an issue. But it's not like Carlos had a catastrophic weekend where he's miles off everyone.
No, it's not catastrophic, but I've been harsh because I think when the top 8 are that close,
you've got to be there.
You've got to show a little bit more, and that's what Mercedes especially did, and Charles did.
Yes.
And Piastri did, which we'll get on to. But Sainz didn't, so unfortunately I've got any... That also goes to his qualifying as well, which I think heavily affected his result.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, let's move on to 6th, Lando Norris.
Giving him a 3.
A 3? Why have you given him a 3?
Qualified P4.
Yep.
Decent qualifying, but you would have expected him to at least have beaten Charles and Lewis and probably Perez in that situation.
You expect him to be on de facto pole.
But with the wets, obviously equaliser. Yeah. Hamilton said as well, wet comes in in the fight.
Yep.
Ferrari there, obviously you can you still put it ahead of his teammate.
Yep.
clearly he extracted that McLaren as
Yeah.
much as he could in qualifying. So baseline, decent. Race, obviously got caught out, went on the gravel first corner mistake.
Yeah.
But I think the problem with Lando is if he was in clean air, he's won that race. He was clear the fastest.
But he's finished sixth.
But he's finished sixth because he's been caught behind everyone.
He's been caught behind everyone for two reasons.
Is it a 2 because of his own mistake?
He's been caught behind everyone for two reasons. Both his fault.
Yeah.
Qualifying.
I don't
and the race.
I don't think qualifying is that much of an issue. I don't think qualifying, like, if we're being harsh on Lando for qualifying, we've got to be even harsher on Oscar for qualifying. That I think if we're gonna give Lando criticism for qualifying, I think we're being too harsh with it being wet. It was close.
No. I mean, qualifying. We always say this. Qualifying does play into.
What are you saying? What are you giving Lando for qualifying?
A 2. No, I've gave Lando a 2 overall.
You're giving Lando a 2 for qualifying.
Overall.
What are you giving him for qualifying?
I'll give Lando a 3 for qualifying.
Okay.
A 2 race. It's a high 2.
That's what it is. No, yeah. I'm thinking a high 2.
I gave him a 2. I was waiting to hear what you said about 3. 'Cause if you said 2, I would have agreed with you straight away. But you said 3, and I was wondering why. I gave him a 2 because of exactly what you said. You touched on it as well.
Yeah.
He's clearly the quickest in clean air.
Yeah.
He, in a championship fight, in which he is, and the people saying he isn't, he is. I've seen the comments on TikTok. He fucking is. 10 races to go, and he's, how many points? That's a championship fight. We've seen, similar gaps being recovered by Lewis against Max in 2021, and also Lewis against Seb in 2018, and Lewis against Nico Rosberg in the Turbo Hybrid era. We've seen it before.
Yeah.
It can be done. He is in that fight.
100%. Especially when it's this close. Max could finish down in 7th one race. If Max looking finishing 5th, if he gets the win here.
Exactly. And what I'll say is, as well, as you mentioned, Norris quickest in clean air. Piastri proved that McLaren had the pace. If he doesn't make the mistake at the start, and if he manages to stay ahead of Verstappen in the pit stops, he can get the Mercedes. He could have got him, and he didn't.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying. You've got to, when you're in a championship fight like this, you've got to be ruthless. You have to, when the stakes are this high, you have to perform and win, and he hasn't. So it's a 2.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 2.
And also, by the way, I want to mention, I know he's going up against Max, but Piastri managed to make overtakes, and Lando didn't. So that's all I'm going to say.
Did Piastri manage?
Yeah, I mean,
Piastri did it in pits. He only overtook Charles
and Russell.
Yeah.
Lando didn't manage to do it. So, Piastri, yeah. 5th, Max Verstappen.
5th, Max. I'm giving him a 4.
Yeah, it's got to be.
I mean, obviously, Max starting 11th. You'd be like, what if you didn't know what? But he did qualify 6 tenths in front of everyone in T1.
It's
he
like
got demoted because of the penalty.
It's like a 5 beyond a 5 qualifying for Max.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous qualifying.
Stupid qualifying.
But in saying that, didn't make any moves after getting past Fernando, Ocon, and that didn't overtake anyone.
No, and this is the thing. I can't give Max a 5 because
he didn't make any overtakes.
Well, he
didn't.
You know what separates a 4 and a 5 for Max?
What?
If he manages to overtake Charles at the end, it's 5.
If he overtook Charles, I'd be thinking more of a 5.
Yeah, I agree. But
in saying that, Perez let him through.
Yeah.
He jumped Sainz and Norris in the pits.
Yeah.
He didn't actually make an overtake on track against a car that's around a similar pace to him.
No. And he could have done at the end to Charles.
And he didn't.
But
that's
it's good.
The thing. He didn't, though.
He had to have good pace to recover to 5th, so well done, Max.
Yeah, fair play.
Charles Leclerc. I've gone for a 4 with Charles.
I went with a 4. If he got the podium, it's a 5.
Yeah, I agree. That's exactly my reasoning.
I don't think we need to stay on Charles too much. It's quite self-explanatory. Great pole lap. It's a 5 quali. Is it a low 5 for Charles, really, in that Ferrari with that pole?
No, I think if he holds on to third.
If he holds on to third, it's a definite 5.
Because you can argue maybe... I mean, it was the last few laps he got overtook. You could argue... Yeah, but you could argue that if he had a little bit more pace earlier in the race, maybe sort of kept it within Hamilton's DRS, maybe pushed it a little bit more, he could have stayed ahead of Piastri.
Yeah, well.
I mean, we're asking a lot from Charles.
It's a very high 4 then.
But yeah, it's a from Charles.
It's very high 4.
And by the way, I just want to mention Charles as well. By the way, has done this 3 weekends in a row now.
Yeah.
Pretty much exactly the same thing. Putting the Ferrari where it shouldn't be. Not quite 5, but it's 4.
Yeah, fair play to him.
He's been consistent. Very consistent. Going under the radar, I think, Charles. But third, Oscar Piastri.
4.
4 as well, yeah. It's almost a 5.
It's almost 5, but qualifying's let him down.
Yeah, I agree.
That's pretty much it.
If he beats Lando in qualifying and maybe pips a Perez, a Charles, a Lewis, it's a 5.
Yeah.
But then again, if he does that, I think he wins this race as well.
Exactly.
So
qualifying's let him down.
Qualifying has let him down.
It's a 4.
Yeah.
Can we put these two together?
No.
Why?
Because one of them got beat.
One of them did get beat.
On clearly fresh tyres. And made a mistake in doing so twice.
No.
Went deep, turn 1.
One of them was a lock-up. One of them was on purpose. And if you looked at it, one of them was on purpose. The last one was a lock-up.
Yeah.
That was a mistake. I don't think he would have been close enough anyway. But the first one, he purposely took a wider line. It was different because it was more of a cut-in. And that was to try and get a better run.
Okay.
So it was only one mistake, and it was a small lock-up. Very small. And we wouldn't have noticed that if Brundle didn't say.
No, we wouldn't. But
we wouldn't have noticed that.
But nonetheless, it still was a mistake.
It was. I think it's both a 5. I think Russell a higher 5.
Okay.
If I was to grade the points, Russell's at like a 5.8. Hamilton's at like a 5.1, 5.2.
Right.
If I was to grade it.
I've given Hamilton a 4.
That's like a 4.9.
Because he could have beaten Charles and Perez in qualifying. He even said himself he had the pace to do it.
He could have, but the difference was in qualifying, Mercedes did it different, didn't they?
They went for the fast run first.
So Mercedes went for out lap, fast lap, slow lap, fast lap, no tyres at the end.
Yeah.
Ferrari, Red Bull,
fresh tyres at the end, right?
Ferrari and Red Bull went for out lap, fast lap, in lap, and then out lap, fast lap, in lap.
Yeah.
They went the normal way, and that's probably what put Charles and Checo ahead.
Yeah.
There of Lewis. I think if Mercedes had done it that way, Lewis would have beaten them.
I agree.
So is that Mercedes fumble in the bag
well,
or Lewis
yeah,
fumble
no,
in the
it is more Mercedes fumble. All I'm saying is I can't give him a 5, or for the one reason I brought qualifying up just to sort of back my argument, but qualifying doesn't matter as much as the race.
Yeah.
But for the race, Hamilton.
I went for the 5 off the base. Well, he made the move. He was leading. He was comfortable.
Yeah.
Obviously, George doing that one stop. Hamilton didn't make the move on the much fresher tyres. Obviously, George must have saved all battery for that Camel Straight every lap.
Oh, 100%.
Everything. And he was getting the exits perfect every single time, which was crucial for him.
Yeah.
I think it's too harsh, though. And I'll revert back to the fact that we have given, in Britain and in Hungary, the top lot 5s the whole time for doing everything. The only thing Hamilton could have done is overtake Russell.
That's why
Russell did the one stop. I don't think it is a 4. I think it's a 5. It's a lower 5. And then Russell's a much higher 5.
No, I can't.
But I'm giving Hamilton a 5.
I can't give him 5. I was giving George Russell a 5 no matter where he finished on the podium. Because that strategy was insane. But Hamilton has to overtake him.
Hamilton
should
have been overtaken.
He's got 3 or 4 laps where he's right up behind him. And he's on the clearly superior tyres.
Yeah.
George has gone like mad amount of laps on his hards. Hamilton has to overtake. Like it was difficult to overtake, but the tyre differential is so big.
We saw how difficult it was to overtake as well, didn't we, for the whole race?
Well, yeah, we did. But what I'm saying is like when the tyre difference is so big.
No, I accept you 4.
So
But I'm giving him a 5.
That's fair. I mean, once again, it's sort of the Perez situation. I'm a high 4. I'm like a 4.9. You're like a 5.1, so it's very close.
Yeah, and Russell's a 5. Enough said.
Yeah, I mean,
strategy was great. Held on the tyres.
I mean,
well,
how the
defended well. Fair play. I mean, to be fair, I don't think the degradation was as high as people think. I think mediums was, but them hards were running perfect for pretty much everyone. Easy.
Well, we saw Sainz had a good lot of pace on those hards.
Sainz had a great run of pace. Hamilton saying tyres were okay before his second pit stop as well.
Yeah.
So it was a great strategy from Josh, and it's a solid, easy 5.
I mean, how the fuck he's done that though? By the way.
Yeah. I don't know, but fair play.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Mercedes masterclass. That's all I'll say this weekend.
Well, that's my start of the weekend done. I'm not gonna give it to one driver. I'm giving it Mercedes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get onto it. So, I mean, star of the weekend, flop of the weekend.
Star of Mercedes, straight in.
Yeah.
You
I mean, it
can't-
has to be. It has to be
argue that.
Mercedes. You know, Mercedes are absolutely classed. In it, everyone after practice wrote them off as well,
Yeah.
and they've come away with
1-2.
1-2.
Fair
Everyone wrote them off. Everyone wrote them
play.
off.
Back in the constructors.
Yeah, and that's.
Are we
incredible.
looking at a potential 4-way constructors battle here?
I mean, considering how Mercedes started the season, if they pull anything back from this, that's not third.
Well, have you seen the gaps? They're not that far.
No, they're not. If Mercedes somehow pull this back, it'll be the most incredible constructors comeback of all of F1 history.
Well, they appear at the moment to have the most consistent lineup in terms of Oscar and Lando are tripping over each other, and McLaren don't know what to do.
McLaren seem a bit immature, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
Ferrari are not quite there on pace, and Sainz is just a bit off Charles.
Sainz is going through a tad poor
Yeah.
run of form, isn't he?
And Red Bull are operating with one driver.
Yeah.
So Mercedes appear at the moment to have the best lineup.
Consistently, they are the best lineup.
Consistency-wise.
The only hiccup they've had was George's qualifying in Hungary.
Yeah.
But even then, he came back through to score points. So
Yeah. So
they've done all right, haven't they?
Mercedes will be ones to watch when we come back.
100%. 100%. But yeah, no, that's it for the... Oh, no, actually, we need to go for our flop of the
It's gonna
weekend.
be the flop.
But Mercedes definitely secured that. Who is your flop of the weekend?
I'm not giving it a show. I'm not gonna give it a show.
The Joe's a cop-out.
Joe's a cop out. I'm
Joe
not
is
giving
a
it, and he
cop-out.
didn't race.
I know exactly who mine is.
I'm giving mine to Hulkenberg.
Give it to Hulkenberg.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed he went out in Q1 and he finished 18th.
I was close to giving it to Hulkenberg, but the Haas was nowhere.
Yeah,
So I've given it to Pierre Gasly. It's a bit harsh.
I think Gasly was there. Yeah,
It's a bit harsh. I definitely think, like I said, I think Joe had a poorer weekend than him. There's definitely drivers that did, but when Gasly is meant to... Well, Gasly so far, I think the season's been very close between him and Ocon, but if you have to choose one, most people usually choose Pierre Gasly.
yeah,
And when...
and they'd be right, by the way.
And when Ocon is scoring 10th, he needs to be having a better weekend because Alpine had the pace. They were the 6th fastest team and they needed to be in there. I mean, maybe with Gasly's help, Ocon might have been able to challenge Fernando with some sort of strategy
I
game.
think Fernando was gone.
No, he was, but I'm saying, the strategy game we saw was big around here.
Potentially,
That could have played into it. You never know, do you? So Gasly has to be there, and he hasn't, and you know.
Well, I had 4 contenders.
Who?
Hulkenberg, Gasly, Perez, and Lando.
Lando. Wow. Fair enough.
No,
I mean-
off the basis of he was the fastest,
And he should have won.
and we should be looking at Lando winning easy by 8 seconds in.
Well, all I'm gonna say is if Max going into the weekend is the quickest overall in everything, and he finishes 6th off his own back, we're giving him a 1. We would.
No, I think
I mean, very harshly, yeah, probably a 2, but
probably giving Max a 2 this weekend. If he replicated Lando, qualified 4th, little mistake, finished 6th, showed pace, I think we would have given him a 2 still.
But if Red Bull are clearly quickest,
But if Red Bull were clearly quick, well,
So-
I don't know if McLaren were clearly quickest because Mercedes have somehow turned up with a ridiculous race pace.
yeah, I don't know what the fuck they were doing.
I don't know where that came from.
Bro, you know those memes about Mercedes sandbagging. That was them till the race. this weekend.
And it's going to be interesting in Monza because Mercedes are not slow in a straight line anymore.
Well, Monza, it's not exactly the same as Belgium in terms of Belgium has a lot more high-speed corners, but we'll probably talk more about this in the preview.
Mercedes are good in slow speed now.
Monza is a similar-ish track to Belgium, so a lot of high speed. So
it's going to be close.
It's going to be close.
It's going to be fun down that straight as well.
It is, yeah. I do expect McLaren to be the quickest still, but
four wide into the first corner. Could you imagine?
Good grief! I can see someone coming together.
All four teams.
They've.
What a picture that would be! 4 teams, 4 different cars, all into the first corner.
Well, it's like that. It was like that picture in Mexico 2018 when you had both Red Bulls.
2 Mercedes, wasn't it?
2 Red Bulls, 2 Mercedes, 2 Ferraris, 2 Renaults, all going down to the first corner.
But I would like to see one of each team.
Yeah, it would be nice. But anyway, that's it for the pod. Like and subscribe. Tune in for the Tuesday video.